G'day guys, so in this little video we'll be looking at some of the features of AutoCAD and just getting started on using some of the features and having a little bit of a look at the user interface and some of the parts of the program that we'll use more often than not. You'll find that we only use a small part of the program, and every single option has a number of other options that you can use. So when you open the program by clicking on the AutoCAD tab, you'll see that this appears, this screen, and it has a number of options that you can go through and have a look at some new features, preview the user interface, how to create 2D graphics, how to create text and dimensions, drawing or plot a drawing layout, converting 2D objects to 3D, and creating and modifying 3D meshes. There are also a number of YouTube videos available of people willing to share their knowledge on AutoCAD and AutoCAD products, and also on the AutoCAD website you'll find a number of instructional videos that help just wrapping your head around the basics. So once we get to this part, the idea is we can just close that dialog box, and for some reason my computer doesn't want to close it. There we go. A little bit slow at the moment. Okay, so if we have a look at our screen, firstly we have all of these tabs that give us a lot of user interface sets of tools. Probably the main one that we'll be using is the Home tab. And to start off with, we're just going to have a look at our line tool. Now, our line tool is simple enough. We click on it, we can draw a line anywhere to anywhere on our screen by just zooming around and having a bit of a look. We can draw patterns in any direction, and then when we want to finish, we can just right click our mouse and press enter, and that'll have that particular line drawn for us. If we get on the bottom here and have a look at some of our toolboxes down the bottom, we have the constraints, the snap mode, the grid display, ortho, some polar tracking, an important one, object snap, 3D object snap. We have some other object snap tracking devices and some other allowance and disallowance of dynamics and dynamic input. The boxes will give an explanation if you just hover over them. So any tool will give you a little explanation: rectangle, polyline, 3-point, center radius, centers for circles. So if you're a little confused, you can just hover over them. It gives you a little explanation, and also you can type up in this area here for help if need be. So we're having a look at some of the ones that we use quite a bit down here. And first of all, we go to the snap mode. Now the snap mode will snap our line tool to a grid. You can see there that my cursor is jumping around and it's not smooth, and the reason that is because it's snapping onto a series of grids that are on the page. You can change that grid layout. It's something I've only ever used if I'm drawing lots of boxes or trying to do a design with lots of squares on it. So in order to activate or deactivate any of these boxes down here, we just click on them. So we can see that the dark blue means that it's activated, and when we take that on, snap off. And we can also see here on this line, snap on, snap off. This down here is our command line. And when we're using our commands, it'll often ask you for the next level of input that we use, but we'll cover that a little bit later. The next one here is our grid display. And we can see on the back of the page here that our grid is clearly displayed. If we don't want to have that grid for some reason, we just simply click and our grid disappears. Again, you can see that grid on, grid off over here on our command line. The next one that we're going to look at is our ortho mode. Now, so far we've only drawn a series of lines in all directions. Now, that doesn't really help us if we're looking to draw an accurate shape or an accurate depiction of an item. So we can come down here and have a look at our ortho mode. It gives us a lot of different options that we can use, but it's basically set to draw at 90 degrees. So with our ortho mode on, if we come up here and press our line tool, start our line, you'll find that it really only wants us to draw at 90 degrees. Up, over, down, across. Really very, very handy for most of the symmetrical drawings that we do, and most of the drawings we have with square boxes, which is quite a large amount because we really do rely on square edges for things like our framework, or if we're drawing multiple shapes, then it's really quite handy to know that you can just simply draw at 90 degrees. That being said, if we right click and press enter, we can finish our drawing there. The next one that we're going to look at is object snap. Now, object snap it's a little tricky to understand at first, but basically it is when you select the line tool, if object snap is not on, so I'll deactivate it there, then you cannot really find where your line is. So if I wanted to draw a line from the end of this line here, I'd have to hazard a guess to start my line from the end. And if I have a look, I'm pretty sure that my guess was pretty inaccurate. We'll have a little look here. And we can see that I've missed by quite some way. So it's very important to make sure that we do start our line on the end of another line or the midpoint or intersection. And I'll give you an example of that. So we can just zoom out again by going undo. Now, in order to get rid of a line, what we have to do is highlight that line and delete. So again, moving backwards and forwards, if I wanted to undo that, I can just press the undo button. As with most programs, if I'm in trouble, in other words, I'm in something and I cannot get out of it, or I'm struggling to get out of it, I simply hit escape twice and that'll bring me back to the latest operation. So again, I'm going to get rid of that line, delete, and I want to start my next line from the end point of this line. So I come down here to object snap. First of all, activate it by turning it on, then right click, and it shows me the parts of which I can snap to a line. So I can snap to the end of the line, the midpoint of a line, I can snap to the midpoint of a circle, things like intersections or extensions. Another handy one we'll use later on is the tangent. So I can see that it's on there. So if I come up and select my line tool, then I can head over, and once that box appears, that means it's going to snap perfectly to the end of my line. So now, if I come over and use my zoom window again, and zoom in closely. That line should be right at the end of the other line, which it is. And as I said, you can use that to snap to the end point of a line or to the midpoint, which is represented by the triangle there, or an intersection represented there by the cross, and you can continue drawing your lines in that fashion. A few other little tips. Don't forget, if you want to delete a line, all we have to do is highlight and delete, highlight and delete. Now, that's fine for deleting the entire line, but say I wanted to delete everything below this line here. Well, when I highlight it, delete, whole line disappears. So I can use one of my favorite functions up here, which is the trim function. Just got to find the little icon for it. Here we go. The trim function, and as with everything, it gives you another option which is the extend option, but we'll talk about that more a bit later. So trim, if I want to trim, then it asks me down the bottom here, select objects. So this is my cutting plane here. I'm going to select that, then I'm going to right click, and then it allows me to either cut above or below that cutting plane. Okay, so I can cut above it over there and below it over there, and that again allows me to cut a line or trim a line. Again, if I'm in this mode and I can't figure out how to get out of it, I choose double escape, and that allows me to continue. So if I wanted to get rid of all these lines, I can simply come up to the side, click on all those and delete, and I'm back to my normal screen. I'll be back with a few more tricks and tips on the next video.